I was born in the fertile plains of Punjab in 1889 into a Sikh family devoted to faith and tradition. My mother, deeply spiritual, dreamed that I would seek a higher path. She filled my mind with sacred texts and stories of saints. I was a serious child, searching for something deeper. I longed for Shanti, inner peace the world could not offer. My mother's love and wisdom anchored my soul. Yet, these seeds of faith would soon spark a profound spiritual struggle. My quiet Sikh world changed forever when I was sent to a Christian mission school. There I first encountered the Bible and stories of Jesus, teachings that confused me, yet also fascinated me. At home I was a devout Sikh. At school I learned of a savior who claimed to be the only way. The conflict inside me grew, pulling my heart in two directions. Torn between my heritage and this new faith, my inner struggle became unbearable. This battle for my soul would soon push me to a breaking point. When I was 14, tragedy struck. My beloved mother, my spiritual anchor, passed away. Grief overwhelmed me, and the peace she taught me vanished. Angry and lost, I blamed the Christian missionaries and their God for my pain. My rebellion boiled over. I led my friends in persecuting local Christians. In a dramatic act, I tore apart a Bible and burned its pages. But as the flames died, so did my sense of triumph, leaving only emptiness and unrest. I was more lost than ever, my soul adrift in anger and sorrow. After I burned the Bible, I felt utterly alone. My mother was gone, and the peace I longed for through faith seemed out of reach. The world lost its color. My heart was filled with despair. At 16, I resolved to end my life if I could not find the true God. That night I prayed desperately, "O God, if there is a God, reveal yourself to me tonight. Show me the right way." I waited in the silence, my entire existence hanging in the balance, longing for a reason to live. As dawn approached, something began to change. At 3 a.m., I sat alone in darkness. Suddenly, a faint glowing light appeared in my room. The light grew brighter, filling the space with golden radiance. Within it, I saw a figure with nail-pierced hands, radiating love and peace. I knew instantly it was Jesus Christ. A gentle voice spoke, inviting me to follow. Overwhelmed, I fell to my knees, my heart filled with perfect peace. As dawn broke, I was changed, my despair gone, a new purpose born. I told my father, "I am a Christian." A new day had dawned in my heart. When I declared my faith, my family was shocked and angry. My father, Singh'S, a respected man, could not accept my choice. They pleaded, offered bribes, and even threatened me, but my conviction was unshakable. Disowned and rejected, I left home at 16 with nothing but my faith. In Simla, I was baptized, marking my new identity. Though I lost my family, I found a new spiritual one. The suffering only deepened my commitment and my desire to share peace, even with those who hurt me. When my family cast me out, I had to decide what my new life would become. I could have joined the Western missionaries, worn their clothes, lived in their compounds, and accepted a comfortable salary. This was the usual path for many Indian converts in those days. But I felt a different calling in my heart. I remembered my mother's dream for me, to become a Sadhu, a wandering holy man who gives up worldly possessions to seek spiritual truth. I realized I could honor her wish while following my new faith. So, I chose to become a Christian Sadhu. In October 1905, just a month after my baptism, I appeared in a thin, saffron-colored robe, the traditional garment of a Sadhu. I was barefoot and owned nothing but my robe, a blanket, and a copy of the New Testament. This was a radical statement. I was deliberately rejecting the Western cultural packaging of Christianity. I wanted to show my people that following Jesus did not mean becoming a European. It was possible to be fully Indian and fully Christian. My saffron robe became a bridge, connecting with the deep spiritual heritage of my homeland. My life became one of extreme simplicity and total dependence on God. I traveled on foot from village to village, across the plains of Punjab and into the mountains of the Himalayas. With no money, I relied entirely on the hospitality of strangers for food and shelter. I slept in caves, rundown shelters, or under the stars. My feet were often cut and bleeding from the harsh terrain, and people began to call me the apostle with the bleeding feet. Yet I did not complain. I saw my physical hardship as a small price to pay for the privilege of sharing the message of God's love. This approach was revolutionary. Many Indians saw Christianity as the religion of foreign rulers, tied to Western power, money, and culture. I wanted to present a different model. I looked like the holy men my people knew and respected. I spoke their language and understood their way of thinking. I did not condemn their culture, but tried to show how my faith could fulfill its deepest spiritual longings. By adopting the Sadhu lifestyle, I stripped Christianity of its foreignness and planted it firmly in the soil of India. My life itself became my sermon. As I traveled through the remote and treacherous regions of the Himalayas, especially during my missions to Tibet, my life became marked by extraordinary events, miracles that I could never have imagined. These journeys were incredibly dangerous. I faced extreme cold, wild animals, and intense hostility from those who opposed my message. Many times I was arrested, beaten, and left for dead. On one occasion, I was thrown into a dry well filled with the bones and rotting corpses of previous victims. The lid was locked over me, and I was left to die. I remained in that horrific pit for 3 days. I prayed, accepting my fate but trusting in God. On the third night, I heard a sound. The heavy lid was lifted, a rope was lowered, and a voice told me to take hold. I was pulled out of the well. Once I was safe on the ground, I looked around to thank my rescuer, but there was no one there. The lid was back on the well, and it was locked from the outside. I believe I had been saved by an angel. I walked back into the very town where I had been condemned, much to the astonishment and terror of the leader who had sentenced me to death. Another time, while traveling in the freezing mountains, I was arrested and sentenced to be stripped naked and submerged in a frozen pond overnight. The guards were certain I would freeze to death. I prayed, and as I did, I felt a strange warmth spread through my body, protecting me from the lethal cold. In the morning, the guards came back, expecting to find a frozen corpse. Instead, they found me alive and well. The guard who had been most cruel to me had, in a strange turn of events, frozen to death in his own warm bed that very night. These stories, and many others like them, became a part of my legend. I have been protected from leopards, found food in barren wilderness, and been given supernatural strength to continue my journeys. For me, these were not magic tricks. They were simple proofs of God's loving care and protection. They were affirmations that I was not alone on my difficult path. These miraculous escapes gave me the courage to return again and again to places like Tibet, known as the Forbidden Land, where the risks were highest. My faith was not just a belief system, it was a living, breathing reality that sustained me through impossible circumstances. My journey took me from the Himalayas to the west, where people looked at me with curiosity, a man in a simple saffron robe, sharing stories of visions and miracles. Yet I was troubled by the materialism and the lack of spiritual depth I found there. When I returned home, I felt called once more to the remote mountains. In 1929, I vanished into the Himalayas, never to be seen again. My legacy endures, a life of radical faith, simple devotion, and mystery.